different up here. It's been so long since I've been here. Yeah, that's good.
Thanks. And we're on it
It shows. Okay, so is there a agenda? No.
you're first on it. You can look at this if you want. I could make another copy. It's like,
Different up here. It's been so long since I've been here. Yeah, that's good.
and we're on it
It shows. Nice. Can we get these in my email,
Get what?
the agendas?
For business promotion. I mean, they're on the website.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'll just go on the website. Of course, I are.
Do you, I mean, are you talking about in the future, every month, or what do you?
Yeah, because I need to really come more often. And so if I see the agenda, it jingles me.
Yeah,
Because I've always got like 8 balls in the air.
right,
I
oh, gosh,
feel
I
like-
hear that.
You know, it's so.
I can try to remember.
Oh, thanks. I can put a tweak in to call you.
Yeah, otherwise, they're on our website and, that wasn't like a week ahead of time, all of you,
Okay,
but I hear it as easier when.
that's
Fun
fine.
idea.
Like, I just can hardly believe it's almost Christmas, Thanksgiving. Ay.
I know, very real times, what?
Or your girls.
They are good, Shandy just got her driver's license yesterday.
Land.
So, yeah, well, it was a day for each. It was a big day.
Look at this. Crazy.
Yeah.
Grow up.
No, crazy, and then my other daughter's in Florida, so she's liking it down there.
There's she.
Like right outside of Miami,
Oh, nice.
it's so busy down there, we've gone down there a few times to visit her and stuff, it's fun, I get why she likes it, I mean. She wanted a little bit more,
Yeah,
she grew up here, so,
yeah, that's a good change.
yeah, experience something different.
I'm not sure.
And what, you went to Africa?
I did.
Wow,
I went to Geneva. It was a quick trip. It's that damn Kevin. He chose this terrible, to me, war crime attorney. So he had to go into Libya and it was very iffy for his safety. And so his wife is a tax attorney, so she's a numbers gal, and this just drives her nuts. And so he called me, he goes, Mom, I normally would never call you about this, but I am kind of worried this time to leave Elena, alone for 10 days. Do you think there's any way you could come? And he told me the whole thing, and I got off the phone and I thought, Tom would be on the first plane.
yeah,
So,
they're asking you to come, you don't want to.
so I went. But it gave me a whole new idea of myself because up and down the stairs in Frankfurt and 17-hour layovers, and I was fine, and I was like, you're a trouble. Maybe we don't know.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, it was a different world.
Bad.
I know, it was beautiful.
Was it like a little village or was it?
No,
like a
it's
small city? Okay.
Yeah, and they had a huge cemetery, like Normandy Beach, the United States owns this humongous, because it was the first battle we were in World War II. 4,000 soldiers died
Oh.
right there. And so that's what really started the whole thing,
Oh.
America to get into it. I did not know.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's right, and it turned out that the night that he was to leave, they had said, he has bodyguards. They said that, and one was killed, and they stopped, and he's not going now to the end of this month. But he goes, that Helena's back in Lisbon at a law firm she works with. They go back and forth, but his contract with the UN's up in March, and I said, if he gets someplace going.
Very easy. I'm gonna go.
Yeah.
A couple copies of these.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm hanging in there. Oh, that's always a good day. I cannot believe that it's almost Christmas market.
I know.
I know, it just comes all of a sudden.
You know, the time between Halloween and Christmas is like,
You
Yes.
said,
Halloween, oh, that's done. All things Christmas.
yeah. My
But I also get married the day after tomorrow, so I. Oh, I have things happening this week.
peace.
Nice.
This time of year, yeah.
Although the weather has been so beautiful, and of course the forecast for Friday is like 25 and 3 inches of snow. I'm like, really? Really? All my relatives coming from Minnesota will feel right at home.
Oh, yes. And where's his family from?
Chicago, Wisconsin.
Yeah,
So we're not, nobody is like. Going to snow. My mother has lived in Tucson for the last 10 years, so for her it's a little bit.
yeah, that'll be.
Little more shocking, but
Exactly. Oh, how lovely is that?
it is.
So you're beginning a great adventure.
Yes.
That is-
And I just said to him, I'm like, like, everybody's flying tomorrow. It's here.
Oh, jeepers. I'll be down at the airport tomorrow myself.
Oh, you will?
Please. Yeah.
Well, what do you- Essentially living there tomorrow.
Oh,
Between noon and 6. We have like 8 flights coming in, but we have it pretty well planned. There's a spreadsheet.
yeah. There you go.
This is how we're doing it. It'll all be fine. I mean, and at least it's now, it's just here. It's not looking like weather and an issue. It's just here. And we have 2 Jeeps and a truck. We'll be okay.
Oh, sure. That's the one thing about us, you know how to drive in the snow.
Well,
Yeah.
and as a Minnesotan, I still say we do it better.
Probably. Good morning. Good morning.
I'm trying to make my edits. I know. Wait.
Oopsie, sorry.
I'm sorry. No.
Christian working today? Yeah, yes.
Good morning, Kevin.
Is that good?
40.
Sure.
Hi.
But it means
Fine.
so, I
Take it in there.
emailed them, but, okay, and it's not the right size, so he's doing a drawing for me on it. A nice drawing.
You see any difference?
Why? I just, it's the way the table's gonna be useful. Really beautiful cards, better. This is the worst. Rick Gustafson. It was a chance long, we couldn't shorten it.
Right.
Right. That's I wanted to ask you, but I never said the right word. It's for now.
I know, I haven't seen one busy for all that. I take a shower and my eyes like they actually got very black. So I always look like somebody punched me in the eyes. I right for like 2 hours after I take a shower.
How are you, Jen? Good. How are you? Good, thank you. I'll stay on. Yeah. Yeah. She's really nice. Okay. Oh, I do this. Okay, so. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Okay, it comes through my list. And then, but I different house.
Did you escape unscathed?
But, we've got.
What's that?
Did you escape unscathed?
Not really.
Thursday.
I escaped.
Yeah.
Well, he says that.
That should be it for a while, 6 months or so, so.
Yeah, that's what it's called, right? Oh, that location.
Oh, last night?
Well, I don't read my notes. Consciousness is reading.
And you got cool down in that time. Yeah.
Oh, to the,
That's good.
the place of business. Yeah, okay, well, I'm glad. I'm glad. I woke up several times last night, was worried.
Okay.
Okay, because I thought it was a mistake that no one was being called.
And I'll still be.
I agree. But there's I'd say better late than never.
I said I would do it, but
Well, hopefully it's not
I'm
very
committed
damaged.
to do. Nice. Like,
Jeez.
Good morning, Ken.
How are you doing?
Justin. Hi. How are you?
No,
Steve? Steve?
Here we go.
Yeah, I'm joining him. Somebody's in there.
Isn't that right?
That's not the wall. I'm kind of done. Oh, that's just. No, he's not well. Like, well,
We said that for a long time.
he's under the weather,
time to own it.
under the weather. All right,
Want the agenda, friends?
I don't think so.
and then, is Rick here in the building yet?
I haven't seen him yet. He said he's gonna be late.
Okay, all right, well, we're gonna go ahead and get started. It is 8:00 AM on Wednesday, November 2nd, and I call this meeting of the Georgetown Business Promotions Commission to order. May we have a roll call, please?
Present.
Justin Dowd.
Here.
Karen Cooper.
Here.
Mary Smith. Yep.
And any amendments to the agenda? So can I please have a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make that motion.
And a second,
I'll second it.
all in favor?
Aye.
The agenda is approved. Audience business. Nancy, you're on the agenda, so you are not audience business on this fine Wednesday morning. And Craig, you're on the agenda, so you're not audience business.
Okay.
Anybody else? No. Okay. Welcome to new business owner operators. Has there been any changes that we haven't discussed since the last meeting? I got to finally try the new barbecue place. It's amazing. Really good. So super happy they're here. All right, new and unfinished business. Ms. Hale? Floor is yours. Please come to the front. And very quickly, guys, Jen has requested for the purposes of the Zoom meeting and recording that we talk one at a time.
Oh, I get it. Okay. So I come every year at this time, but I didn't last year, Mary for me, to ask for money. And the money this year. We have good news this year, and Timberline's gonna do the porta potties gratis for the town and for us and the dumpster, which is really great. But we are with the hotel and the town NHGI putting a very large tent on the hotel parking lot, which is gonna house almost 16 vendors inside and beer garden. And so we also have the bus that the town helps us pay for. Usually I do ask for 1,500. If you would, or could think of any more, if Mary could find it in the budget, it would be a help. Because this is the huge, Mary says. This is a huge endeavor to do this tent because the little thing called snow, we may be out there at midnight sweeping off the roof of the tent and all kinds of things. So we don't know how this is gonna play out because it's going to sit here for weekend to weekend, so it will be here a long time. So that is my pitch for everybody, and thank you, of course, for everything in the past.
So I think you normally get 1,500.
Right.
What we allot for you. Not that this will impact the donation, but is there a Strauss Park update, or do you want to save that for later? Is it gonna be both places, or is it gonna be primary down here?
No, we're still gonna use Strauss Park.
You will.
In some way, shape or form.
So this
It's
is
bigger.
but you know, I think we have to hold on to it 62 years. That's incredible
That's really
for a
special.
town to have something like this. So I think it's a growing, but we're trying to grow it in a very European fashion. So it will be, Craig will be a part of the Alpine Beer Garden. And so we really are excited about some new things, and so will Steve Scosley.
Awesome. Who just texted me and said he apologized because he's not.
So that is my request. Thank you.
Any discussion on a Christmas market donation?
Did we have 15 targeted or? Didn't we have?
Oh, we gotta get one of those.
Mary, come on. No, it's not.
In my printout, that's what was targeted.
Okay, I thought it was more.
Could have been updated since I got it.
I thought it was 1,500 as well, but. So let's allot for 15 and then, if we find out it was supposed to be more in the next 120 or 118 minutes, then I will, go ahead and amend that and revote.
We still have next one.
And we still have next one too. Could I please have a motion to, give, the HGI and Christmas market $1,500 from the Promotions Commission?
I move that the Business Promotion Commission give HGI $1,500 for Christmas Market 2022.
And a second, please.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Congratulations.
Thank you. May I add one thing? We would like to be, Hamel House would like to host a business promotion site at the schools, so keep us in mind.
Oh, that would be lovely. Thank you very much for that. We will add that to 2023's plans.
Thank you.
Good seeing you, Nancy.
Thanks,
Take care.
Nancy. Next item on the agenda isn't really a discussion point, but just as a heads up, we've learned that Katie and Kyle have resigned from their alternate posts in the commission. Actually, speaking of new businesses, I did overlook their new endeavor, and that is they are doing car detailing. And they're very good at it, and I think that they just did one of your cars, Justin.
They did, yeah, can't believe better.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Do they have a catchy name?
Double take.
They'll take it.
Double take.
I bet my car on Connor's side would make them quit. I will not challenge them. Well, maybe I will, but that's really exciting. So we're very sad to be losing Katie and Kyle on the commission, but wish them the absolute best in their new adventures. And next item on the agenda is Craig, glutton for punishment.
Hey, you tell me into it.
I did. Craig has submitted intent to join the commission. We would need to vote on that today. Nice try. Is there any discussion on this point, or shall we just get another motion?
So we really want Craig on the commission.
It's a good question.
However, point of question, is he coming in as an appointed member until February? Because in February each year is when the board appoints, accepts
Yeah.
the new commission members, so.
We have a full spot from the looks of because of the vacancy from Jan McCollum. So I think he could take that.
Okay.
That would be my opinion. What do you think?
Yeah.
Should we call it interim until February?
Gives you 2 months to run away.
Yeah, everybody has to work.
I think we can
Yeah.
always have more, I think we,
Because Jan's seat's vacant, I think, and then we would just re-up in February. That's,
Yeah, I mean, you guys can appoint the person.
Yeah.
And then and then the board will officially declare them, but I don't think we have to be.
Why don't we appoint him until February and to finish this term?
the start.
And then in February, if he's still interested, we'll talk to him again, talk to you again. I know you're right there.
Okay,
Okay, let's do that.
I'll take this motion. I make a motion to appoint Craig Abrahamson to the Business Promotions Commission.
Second,
All in favor?
I,
Aye.
come join us.
Maybe come have a seat.
Nay.
Have a seat at the table.
Oh, literally.
all right, yeah. Bye.
Right, okay. I will turn it over to you, Ms. Jordan.
Oh, the things. My update, well, the last 24 hours pretty much have been spent with our videography team. Well, team of one, but kind of two. His dad does the interviews, he does all of the photography and videography work, but we spent pretty much 8 hours yesterday interviewing businesses and attractions for this endeavor, which will result in short video clips featuring Georgetown and promoting the town, trying to get unique social media followers. Their last endeavor, I think, 50,000 new unique visitors for the last time that they did. We're the second town that they have come in. All this is completely free to us. We had a great time yesterday. I learned a ton of things I didn't know about businesses, business owners, even about the hotel, which I've been in multiple times, but it's always a new thing. So thank you to everybody who participated. They will wrap up tomorrow with 4 more business interviews and then just more shot footage. Come out next week with the first reel, so to speak, come back for Big Horn Sheep Festival and also to do some train drone footage as well, as the train is not open again until the 11th. So they will do all of that on the 12th. And so that's kind of been my week. The only thing on my events update is banners. They will be here in 7 days. They received the check and cashed it yesterday. I was notified that was done and they gave me a 7-day turnaround that I will go down and pick up those banners. Installation, we're working on because the second biggest thing that I'm working on is Christmas decorations, which also arrived yesterday. They are here. It is not a giant peach artificial Christmas tree as the packing slip originally said, which only put me into a minor panic attack. Not sure what happened there, but we're good. We inventoried it all. It is all presents. We have the old decorations all laid out up at Scooter's shop, just trying to salvage what we can to reuse so that we have the most robust Christmas display, but also one that makes sense and isn't just like completely pieced together. There's a plan. So I spent a good amount of time up there with them as well. Yesterday working on that, I think they're pretty happy that everything has come this early. And we're just ahead of the game. If we need to fill in or add, we have the opportunity to do that. They have already started stripping everything and getting it down to where it needs to be so we can be and put it back up. So I'm pretty excited about everything that's happening with decorations.
Do you know when those are gonna start to get on?
Well, the drop dead date was the 9th. But I think they'll be able to start going up even earlier than that, given that is where it is and we have everything that we need to do. I have put out a request to parks for volunteers. One of the things that the way these decorations arrived is that the light bulbs are not in the cord. They come light bulbs here, cord here. We have to manually put them in. Apparently
What
this
kind of
is
masochistic thing is that?
right, but apparently not unusual as I've asked around. So, and luckily that's something that can be done indoors, like you don't have to sit outside in 25 degrees and do that, because it's all in the school. You know, like we could lay it out here, but I do need help, so anybody that is willing to help put light bulbs in the cord would be great. And that's basically the lights that go across 6th Street and then the floating tree. As we call it, I don't know what everyone else calls it, we call it the floating tree, but those are like 1,000 feet of C9. So it's a lot of lights, but I don't think it's gonna be that time consuming, honestly, but it scares Road and Bridge, so I have tried to reassure them with. You won't be responsible for it 100%. So I think so Parks meets on Thursday, so hopefully they'll put that out and get that going. They're also going to go over all things tree lighting on Thursday, so hopefully I will not be present for that meeting. But they will give me a full update on Friday as to exact time frame and plan for the tree lighting. That'd be like kind of the next beyond Bighorn Sheep Festival, the next big thing on my plate. Hopefully they'll all be here this year, so it will be less on my plate than it was next year, and a little more cohesive plan. But just so everyone knows, like the tree, the decorations on 6th Street for Christmas are all replaced. The wreaths, the bows, the garlands, and they're all white lights. The only colored lights right now are on the tree in Strauss Park and on the floating tree. The big wreath that goes on Town Hall apparently flew to Argentina last year. So it needs some repairs if we're going to reuse that big wreath, and we're still working on that. That is the lights, but everything else is white, red bows, green garland. Back how it was 15 years ago when I see pictures of what 6th Street looked like. So everybody that I've talked to is on board with that. Hopefully everyone here is on board with that. It's late to change it down. We do accept the whole things. I'll do that if we need to. We've got a tree. We've got the tree update for the sale of the trees.
Yeah, that's
I mean,
for further down.
we'll wait further down on that.
So that's pretty much it for your Christmas, your decorations,
Decorations, obviously, the next big event is Bighorn Sheep, which is
that's
somewhere down the list, so we
Yeah.
can,
If you wanna just take 5, let's skip through the recaps then. Start those.
okay. I was not here for the Chili Cookout. I was running a marathon in Chicago, but I'm told by Jamie and the Commission. She said everything went really well.
Yes, I would say despite, the new location and all that, it was successful. I think they sold out of chili again. Everybody had a good time. There was a repeat champion, 2 years in a row now, winning first place.
Who
And
was that? People were asking and no one seemed to know.
it was Mike and Micah.
Okay,
It was really good. All of them were actually really good. I was a judge this year, so it was a stiff competition, in my opinion. Several $1,000s were raised for the Georgetown Trust, so that was good. Yeah, I think everybody had a good time. I think they're looking forward to get back to the park next year, though.
For sure. I think we're all looking forward to getting back in the park next year.
Yeah,
Do you want me to talk about that at all? Because I had a meeting on Saturday morning with Cindy Neely and Bob related to like,
Let's get through the recaps
Okay.
and then. Yes. What's up? I unfortunately was unable to attend either. I was at the roundabout getting beat down all day. From open to close,
in a good way.
in a good way. It was a good leaf season, everybody. Next, so John Denver, same, you were gone for that too.
it was, and I have a lot of big ideas and big plans for John Denver moving forward. What I know is that the musical act was very well received. Whether it was received as a part of the Chili or as a part of John Denver. But he did a really good job and people thought the music was on point the whole day, so I did get really positive feedback. I think Emery did okay with her tours. Beyond that, we didn't have much going on. We ran into some licensing issues with some of the things that I wanted to do. Licensing has been tightened up quite a bit post-COVID as far as outdoor movies that can be played, outdoor music that can be played without the proper licensing. So that's something that moving forward in 2023 for all events, I'm going to be working on getting approval in whatever licensing we need to do. They really, really loosened it up after COVID and kind of let us free for all with any outdoor activities, but that is no longer the case. So that was all kind of last minute information. But always as a partnership with Chili, I think it works. But moving forward, I have different ideas for that particular event. But as far as it went, pretty status quo, I would say, from the feedback I got. I don't know who else was there, but
I think John Denver should start making agendas next year in like probably June or July.
Yeah.
I don't,
And the Busy Bee was parked
oh yeah,
in front of the hotel.
the Busy Bee looked
Oh,
beautiful.
Yeah, people love it.
that's always a hit. So I'm glad that they were able to get it cleaned up and
The
whatever
Busy
they
Bee
needed
was
to
next to
do
my
to
house.
get it there. Yeah, I mean, I have thoughts about moving it from this Aspen weekend and making it really our own and owning it, but that's a whole other conversation. But for this, it was pretty much the way it has been in my time, in my tenure here.
Do you guys feel that John Denver gets a little bit lost in the kind of crush of leaf season and everything that's going on?
Yeah, but there are people here at the same time for Leaves that might not know about John Denver, so it's a captive audience, it's a guaranteed audience. And so I don't know the answers. I'll have to think about this, but if we could, there used to be something called Aspen Fest.
Yeah,
Yeah, and so maybe some of the spirit of that past event forward to this one would help to invigorate it.
is there another, and this is not a question that we need to answer right this second, but is there another timing, like anniversary type of thing that is important to people who are really loyal to John Denver that doesn't fall into the Aspen Fest? Like, because I think, did he die in May? And is it his birthday's in May or something? Like, I'm just trying to think of things that would like
Sure.
maybe pull it away from
Mhm.
and give it a little more.
And I agree with that. I think the piggybacking on Aspens has not worked in our favor. I think by the time everybody's done in Aspen, they're John Denver out, so to speak, and we're not really posing it as a one last stop. And so I think separating it from Aspens, however we do that, doesn't mean we have to change it the time of year entirely, but maybe not piggybacking on that same
Sure.
event.
And just to clarify, when I said Aspen Fest, it was a festival here in Georgetown.
Oh, that's called it.
Yeah.
I forgot.
But we coordinate our event with the Mecca going to Aspen, so
Yeah.
to, change that, if that's the audience. Aside from trying to target the audience that says, who's John Denver?
Also, on a side note, his birthday's December 31st, so that's
Oh.
totally useless.
That won't work.
It's just, we don't need to get deep into that discussion today, because we do have a super big agenda, and there's stuff that we have to get off today, but,
I will start proposing different ideas for like May, June-ish of this year, we can talk about them.
Okay.
I know when you came up with John Denver's Georgetown, I loved just the concept of like the authenticity of it, and like how it highlighted these very specific little areas of town and really could get visitors engaged. And I think that those weekends are just brutal for, I mean, the way the town is, and the town's like overflowing. So I don't even know if people can enjoy it, is kind of where I'm going. Like they can't park, the pass. The chili's delicious. It's amazing. The vibe is great, but it's just, it's really crowded. So that's all. Just my thoughts. You guys have anything else before we move on? On that one? Business Mixer was great. Thank you, Jen, for promoting it, and thank you so much to Marty for his delicious snacks and the trust for the use of their space and their alcohol. That I donated after the fact. Because mine didn't come. So it was fun. It was a cool little event. It was good to see everyone who got to come out, and definitely we need to be doing those every year. And now that we're kind of back to normal, as we say, I think that that's something that should continue to be on the agendas, and maybe do one twice a year, maybe do one in the spring.
I thought we got a good cross mix with.
Yeah.
This is sometimes which was really positive.
Next up is Bighorn Sheep Festival, and I know Mr. Boat is not here. So Bighorn Sheep Festival is going to be on the 12th of November. We know we have trains running, which is great. Jen, if you want to go through the activities, and then I will open it to you guys for any questions, concerns, or feedback.
Obviously, we're punting a little with the festival being on in a different location than we're used to, but I actually like the way it's playing out.
Where's it going to be officially?
On 6th Street
It's gonna be
between
on 6th Street.
Argentine and Rose, so
And has the road closure been
it's all done.
cool?
Yeah. We may test out the bollards on the one side of the street that day. I still haven't gotten 100%. Yes, that's what we're gonna do. We don't have bollards on the Rose side, only on the Argentine side, or is it the other way around?
They're on the Argentine side for sure.
Okay, that is there and not on Rose, that we have them. There's only bollards on one side of the street pleasure. But at least I would like to test them out and see how that works out.
We bought them for.
Right.
It's
That's,
time for their debut.
as much as I love carrying the barricades at 6 AM, I'm all about the ballots. So, but we have all of that in place, trash is in place, road closure is in place. Kelly signed off yesterday on all propane food that is being cooked, as well as we are having donated to us 2 very large propane fire pits. They, just for the day, they're about 3 feet across.
Who's donating them?
I'd have to look at their name. It's a company that makes them. They just want advertising. They just want to put their name on them for the day, and they're like $1,000 a piece. They're gonna bring them and drop them off. They are okay with us melting marshmallows all over them. And it's pretty cool. They're super cool company to work with, and I'm happy that we have that as an option. I think Paul, last time I talked to him about it, was leading towards s'mores kits. So we'll just hand them out in bags, but they can do the roasting and the eating on site, and it will be warm. So there's that.
When are the fire pits coming, you said?
On the day of, they'll be hit at like 9:30 in the morning. They'll unload them and they'll pick them back up at 3:30 with the hours of 10 to 3 for the festival. They're super, super nice. All they've asked in return for this is to be able to put their logo out. So,
If you could find out who that company is, just so we can
Yeah,
acknowledge them.
I will,
The next meeting here.
before the end of this meeting, I will have that name for you. So I'm looking forward to that. We've got the library participation with their craft. Everything there is in place. We have a face painter now as well. That's free to all participants. That I think the last time we emailed will be just inside the library, if not in the courtyard, weather dependent. We have 4, potentially 5 vendors. It's all food. I don't have any merch vendors. They are very, very wary of the weather and putting merch out and having it break or blow away, or things that have happened with merch vendors in the last couple of festivals that we've had outside of Strauss Park. So I'm okay with that. Food is good. We have a lot of other things going on. Wilder will be there in his new, less scary costume. So I think it's important to note. He's been rebranded in a don't scare the children sort of way.
Really fast, I didn't mean to cut you off because I want to hear about Wilder. What food vendors do you have?
I have, well, up in the air is Chef's Corner, but that is scheduled. I have Georgetown Mountain Pop Lovers. I have the Buffalo Rose team of Brianna and Chris, whether they're going to do boiled peanuts or beignets is up in the air. They're deciding between those two food items. We have anime and
it's just.
It's just,
Yeah, I know.
I always want to say
Yeah,
anime.
yeah.
That's the food truck. They change up their menu all the time, so I'm not entirely sure what they're bringing for this festival, but it's likely sweets. And then one more, Beasley. Hopefully bring the dumplings, because those are super popular. Interesting. So those are the 5 food vendors that we have.
Is there any beer garden or anything out there?
No. We're alcohol free. And then the usual activities, the kind of, you can probably speak to it better, like we have the
Joe Walter, our wildlife officer, will be doing an educational program in the dining room of Hotel de Paris at noon that day. Capacity 40 people, and so first come, first seated. But it was packed last year, and we hope to see the same this year.
And honestly, I've been asked so many times about that particular, and people, even just locals, telling me they're super interested in attending that this year, so.
Good.
And back to merch vendors, I shouldn't say we have none. The Colorado Parks and Wildlife will have their tables, and I believe the visitor center will also have a merch table present, so we will have,
It'll be archery.
and then the entry. And hopefully the Bighorns make an appearance, as they have been so good about the last 2 years.
I almost hit one yesterday.
Cody.
But the landing page is in place, everything there is good to go, the posters, flyers have been distributed. Press release says, well, that's been out since our last meeting, although I sent it again because I learned recently that press releases should go out 2 to 3 weeks in advance of an event. As an optimal time, that's kind of been shifted a little bit in what we have done, so all of that I think is good. Looking for business participation, which has been a struggle for me last year, it's a struggle again. I want to put the Bighorn Sheep Crossing in the businesses that are offering something, so if you're a business owner and you want to offer something and you're listening, please email the town of Georgetown, and I'll put a Bighorn Sheep in your window, and everyone will know. But I think that's hokey pokey. Do we figure out exactly where we're gonna do it? No.
I don't.
It may be like the biggest hokey pokey ever and just like go in a circle on 6th Street. We talked about doing it on the stage, but we don't want to be prohibitive for anybody who can't walk up the stairs, so. We'll figure that piece out, but that's always the most fun, so however that plays out will be great.
Awesome. Does anyone have any discussion points for Bighorn Sheep? Is there any promotions that anyone's aware of that were not mentioned for Bighorn Sheep that we need to add into the agenda? Perfect.
I have one request going back to banners. When the banners are switched out, can we remove and dispose of the one that says historic downtown straight ahead? The one
Oh,
that's
the old
at-
one.
Yeah, the old one that's at the 11th Street.
And I don't think that we reprinted that.
No,
We just want it removed.
it's, yeah.
Yeah, the one that's, well, it's
Yeah, it just needs to
really
be
awesome.
discarded.
Keep driving sentence.
Well, it's like, yeah.
But while they're out, it makes
So
sense.
the
to
request
retain
is to just have that banner removed.
it. Yes, and we do not need to retain it because it's
That doesn't make sense.
confusing.
Totally.
No.
It's one of those things that went it is classic Georgetown. It's like the day I noticed it, I was like, wait a minute, I just left historic downtown. That's that way. Yeah, it's great. It's really great. We should though, and we can maybe have our town administrator tackle this. We should talk about having something else put in its place, some new wayfinding, but I think there's a bigger wayfinding project on the horizon, yeah, 23. So that's something that should maybe be out there. Mary, do you want to tell us about Christmas market? The most wonderful time of the year?
It is the most wonderful. Yeah. So,
Oh, on a side note, we need to revote. It's 2,000.
Oh, okay.
Can
That's good.
I have an amended motion to give $2,000 to Historic Georgetown Incorporated?
I will amend my motion and change the amount from $1,500 to $2,000 to be given to Historic Georgetown Incorporated for the execution of Christmas Market 2022.
And who was the second on that? You?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Motion carries.
Mary, will you let Nancy know
yeah,
the positive improvement?
yes, thank you. On behalf-
Next time we'll take money back, just to be spiteful.
Okay.
So, Christmas market, the big thing that we keep on alluding to or saying is that we're adding a large tent in the Hotel de Paris parking lot. We've come up with the name of Rue de Noël, which means Christmas street, which is what we're going to call it, thanks to Hotel de Paris Museum's help in securing that piece of property. All the permits have been filed. We haven't been rejected yet on anything, but I'm sure something will come up. I don't look at you because, you know, you'll be the bearer of bad news. HDI is asking, you know, for a special event liquor permit to have a beer garden there. We're calling it the Alpine Beer Garden for a couple of reasons. One, the street used to be Alpine
That's
Street.
right.
Alpine obviously fits the European style, blah, blah, blah. It could be the French Alps, it could be the Swiss Alps, it could be the Austrian Alps, so it fits. Cabot Creek has been generous enough to volunteer after a little arm twisting, no arm twisting whatsoever. They will provide the craft beer and a Glühwein the second weekend.
Oh, nice.
And Guanella Pass Brewery is signed up to be our beer tenders the first weekend.
Glühwein is this
Warm.
it's warm hot wine. Like I know that sounds weird, like warm spiced wine. Sorry, that's not warm hot wine.
It's like a mulled wine.
It's like yeah, it's really good.
And on a cold, chilly day.
Yeah.
So the intent is a 40 by 80 tent, which sounds really big, but I don't think it's gonna be big enough, but we're gonna cram everybody in there. We're gonna have 15 vendors in there, plus the beer garden. We'll have some entertainment in there in the afternoon. The plan is to continue with the traditional Strauss Park outdoor marketplace location. One way or the other, the booths obviously will be, hopefully will be used. If not, there's a plan B. Plan B would be to put a two-sided tent up kind of thing. Communicating with the vendors, trying to give them an idea of what it's going to look like at Strauss Park. Entertainment is still planned for Library Stage. However, some of the entertainers will do, like I said, in the afternoon, they'll do part of their performance on Library Stage and then perhaps carol down the street and then come into the Rue de Noël for a half an hour or so and have that set up. Oh, we will have picnic tables or some kind of tables in the Rue de Noël. I want to just keep saying that so that we use that. Similar to last year, we're offering the sneak peek and advertising it for the Fridays before on December 2nd and December 9th. I would say maybe 70 to 80% of our vendors are on board to be out here on Friday. We're only doing that from noon to 4. We may have the horse-drawn wagon on Fridays also. Knowing that the audience on Fridays is kind of, you know, up for grabs. We don't know what that will be. I mean, certainly not to the degree that people attend on Saturdays and Sundays. Community Center will be featuring the Book Nook that they had last year, that's put on by Jerry Fabianic. It's Clear Creek County and Colorado authors. Like I said, last year they were in the community center, and prior to that, they were in the Heritage Center. Entertainment runs from 11 to 4, so we beefed up a little bit more entertainment in the morning before the Santa Lucia kids come at noon. The museums are all planned to be open. You're open on Friday too, right?
I can't be.
Okay,
I don't know if you'll get the kids on Friday.
okay.
That's gonna be the number of kids that are at Compass Day, and that's actually the kickoff of Snow Dodgers at the end of November. And I think you're gonna lose too many kids to Snow Dodgers.
And that was the only entertainment we thought that might be able to get pulled up was Friday, just to, have that. But that's fine, and that's good to know, thank you. We're lined up with the roundabout shuttle, the county shuttle. The route will, it's a continuous loop, but basically it'll be from Cabot Creek. Where the bus stop is now, so Cabot Creek, Microtel, up Argentine, they'll turn on 7th, they'll drop the people off at 7th and either Argentine or Rose, whichever Kelly decides is the corner of the moment. They'll go back down Rose to 11th to Argentine, and just go in circles and circles and circles.
How many stops is there gonna be? So there'll be Cabin Creek,
So-
so event parking.
Cabot Creek, the event parking, the annex, where the electric cars are, the bus stop there. We're telling people that they can flag down the bus at any point. We're purposely not saying the roundabout visitor center, Cooper's area, because we don't want people parking there and taking up your parking lot for, the entire day.
Yeah.
And I know that could, be an issue down by you too, but you've got parking across the streets, and, we want to make sure that we're involving, our no-G.
No, I think it's awesome that she comes from all the way down by Cabin Creek.
In July, it would be an issue in December 2nd.
Yeah. So, what else?
If you guys, I mean, it might behoove the bus to do a let off at the visitor center. And not a pick up. I know it sounds
Oh, they'll
weird,
stop anyway.
like if they did
Yeah.
if there was a stop there, but it was unloading only, I don't know if that's possible. Because I do think, and I know Paul would maybe want to chime in on this. I feel like we had a pretty strong response from people getting off the bus last year, but had already parked up here somewhere. They had parked on the street or something, and then they went back. On the bus. So how late does it run was my next question.
So till 5,
Okay.
once Christmas market starts to close down, it's tough to, keep them running and everything.
Well, of
So,
course, yeah.
And it does, so I guess we would just have to worry if they dropped somebody off
Yeah.
at Cooper's and then they had to come back up here
No, it's not
and park or get their car or whatever, or run.
or they can just get Ryan's car like they did last year. That's still these two women at the post office just climbed into Ryan's truck and said, "Take me back to the roundabout. We're so cold."
Really?
Ryan of all people, super chat,
Super social, right?
super social Ryan Cooper. Yeah, it was great. The other thing is that, so, I don't know, just as an aside on the pages. I noticed the Loop has a message on their page about taking an Uber or Lyft from Denver and not being able to get one home. That was an issue last year. We had people stranded at the restaurant who came up in Ubers and Lyfts. It happened to us both weekends where they were stuck. So I know it's the dumbest thing to have to say. But just throw it out. I don't know if we want to put that a disclaimer. So
Can open a relief business.
And we could charge holiday pricing, right?
It's our pricing, right? Something
Well, maybe this is opportunity here that we're missing.
that occurred to me a couple days ago, and I forgot to mention it. I don't know if it's worth putting on any of the Christmas advertising, in very small print. It's in ginormous print on the Loops page.
Yeah,
That they're warning people or
It's,
they're.
yeah, because when I check to see what the trains look like for the day, you see it pretty prominently.
it might behoove us to at least find out, I mean, all of us collectively, if that turns out, you know, what the. You know, obviously the roundabout shuttle will.
Giant red letters.
Not taking it to the Denver to Georgetown, they bring you up, they probably won't pick you up again.
It's true, that kind of takes me.
Well, so
Yeah.
so you know, the roundabout still has their routes, their regular routes on Saturday. I mean, the county does their operation, you know, they've been doing a, you know, stand-up job as far as. So I wonder if there's a.
We can at least get about a Georgetown.
We can.
Well, no, seriously. Now, I can get a bus stay.
Transportation. You can try really hard. You can get from Georgetown to Denver on public transportation, you can try really hard. I mean, it involves the roundabout to the bus thing to the light rail, but it can be done.
Yeah.
I don't know, posting that.
I was calling it out as a caveat because I mean, we're already starting to get a lot of inquiries, like I've already booked in. Just like I've booked in a 16, I've booked in a 23, and these are like families that are coming up and we're fielding a lot of information, so just came up as it's just a side.
When will the brochures with like the itinerary hit?
Well, it was supposed to be yesterday, however, I have.
I'm getting it.
I have a
Questions
proof,
about that.
yeah, I have a proof of it and we need to make some changes, so.
Okay,
Let's hope that early next week, our idea, we certainly wanted them out before Bighorn Sheep, we want them distributed to the. You know, to the business owners in case anyone is coming up from the metro area now, and then they wanna, you know, come back for. You know, Christmas market kind of thing, so it earlier than in the past, but there's no guarantee.
okay, I'm just getting
Yeah.
questions about that, so.
The library is hosting free holiday craft workshop for kids. So we will be putting an ad in the Colorado Community Publications, which does the current. They cover 27 metro foothills papers. That'll come out in the holiday insert. And then Jen brought to our attention that there was the opportunity for a discounted ad with 5280.
We would need to decide like today.
Yeah,
How much was it?
Yeah,
2,000.
so if.
Third of the page.
So my HDI hat is on here now, okay, not here. If
recusing yourself?
well, I certainly wouldn't vote on this, but though I do not profit in any way, shape or form, so there's no monetary, you know, benefit to me.
Is Mary downstairs?
So what?
Could you text her really quick? I just wanna.
5280 has given us the opportunity to have an ad, a third page ad in their basic holiday edition for $2,000. HDI is incurring a lot of expense with, you know, we're trying to break even. So the thought was, in just general conversation, would the town consider going in half with HDI to do that 5280 ad, because we're trying to make it bigger and better and, you know, get more attention to what we're doing. It certainly makes sense. I have, in another item that I will be talking about, another pot that we might be able to consider taking some money out of for that. So to just think on that. But anyway, so that's Christmas market.
Do we have the artwork and stuff waiting for it?
We would probably have to pull from old ads. I mean, there's.
Well, yeah, for the.
We've got an ad ready to go, or pretty darn close, ready to go for the current. I'll just use it for that one. And we would just flip it and they could shrink it and, you know,
You'd want to do the same one?
yeah, that's
fine with me.
what's the difference?
I
I mean,
don't
it's just,
know.
yeah, right. So anyway, that's Christmas market.
There's the one ad that we did like 4 years ago, 5 years ago, when Matt Schmaltz was.
That's what I was gonna bring up, and we saw really great results.
Yeah,
And so, I think that's the only time we've paid for advertising. And,
we did that in Denver Post.
yeah, and
It was
it,
in
and
our
it,
Christmas
we had a
section.
really good return. So,
One end that we had that went to, as we're somewhat like the current, but it really went for, with some, you know, that.
Community media, that's who now owns the current and everybody
And
else.
22 other publications, so we did do a paid ad last year,
Oh, we did.
yeah,
Great.
for Christmas market.
Good.
Minimal, not a
Oh, sure.
huge thing,
Yeah.
but took that one out. I think they have like 22.
There's 27 papers that they put it in, and like you said, this one is the holiday insert, it's a full page ad, and that one, it's just shy of just over $1,000 that HDI is already committed to, so if we have this opportunity, so what was the regular rate for 5280?
37.85. I believe you can rate card. It's on the third page.
That they're discounting it, you know, for us, so.
5280's media kit demonstrates a pretty strong reach,
Yes.
higher demographic
Yes.
individuals.
I agree, and media kits is something I've been doing a ton of research on in the last couple of weeks, and I really like their presentation and their reach. I think it's worth the $2,000 for the drop date, which is November 25th. Just enough time and not too much time, in my opinion, to make that impactful, but.
I think, I just want to check with Mary, since we're running to the end of the year, and obviously she hasn't closed out October yet. But there is things on the budget, we have our budget here, that we haven't expensed this year that we did budget for. We had a $22 TBD. That is technically for events, and then we 2,200, sorry, 2,200. And then we do have media advertising budgeted, but I think we're over that, because our year to date. Is, yeah, we might, so I just want to double check with her. And we're pretty tight this
So
year.
let me jump in advance, and let me jump forward, and then we can come back.
That's fine.
Okay, so here's my money plan.
I love money plans.
Okay. So yesterday I had a conversation with Jeremy Jones with the Clear Creek Fire Authority. He had presented to the Board of Selectmen a couple of months ago, and we briefly talked about it, I think, last month here, that they're proposing that the town of Georgetown come up with a Christmas tree cutting program, because they've identified several trees up off Silverdale area that need to come down, but they're perfect size for your Christmas tree. So this could be, so the board was very receptive to it. BPC wanted to look into it and get a little bit more information as far as what the, fire authority was suggesting. And bottom line, we could sell Christmas trees. We could be in the Christmas tree business and make some money for us, BPC. Side conversation with Mary yesterday, this Mary, that, at least for this year, it makes sense that, if we're out there generating this program, that the money be, credited towards the BPC budget. So these are just highlights of the conversation. You guys can all read. I'm not going to go through it, painfully. So we agreed that the 2 prime weekends would be the weekend before Thanksgiving and then Thanksgiving weekend. This could tie in with tree lighting, because people could be out taking a tree down, they could hang around for a couple hours, they could go to a restaurant, and they could come back for tree lighting. They'd have their tree, they'd have
See a tree.
spirit, yes, all that kind of. The fire authority is planning on putting some people up to help us with this endeavor. They suggested that we have a couple of people, so that's where I targeted 2 or 3 people. The fire department will tag the trees so that we're not taking the wrong trees down. They'll get us a map in time. So different things that we were just, like I say, we can all figure this out. Obviously, this program needs to be planned out now and advertised now, not today, but within this next week kind of thing, so that we can get the word out and try to iron out any of the kinks that we foresee. Jeremy and I were having a lot of fun with trying to figure out how idiot-proof we have to make this for that first time tree cutting person who comes up from the Denver metro area in their flip-flops and, their young millennial state of mind, so.
Are we looking to advertise that far in a radius? I mean, do we want it to go
I don't know, I mean, we can sell them until they sell out, you know, who, do we care who our demographics are that come out and take a tree down? To me, that, you know, plus two tops, they're hiking up a half mile or so, which they're not going off into La La Land, and so they won't have to come out later and search and rescue. Find these people. Fire authority will have some people like actually in the tree area, you know, so that they, but, you know, we're not cutting the trees down, we're not tying them down, you know, this is all on, but so we, like I said, we were having fun going on the what ifs and the.
I think it's a fantastic idea, and I don't think you gotta worry about all those little details. We did tree cutting areas in Gilpin County for 15 years, and people, when they show up to cut a tree down, they actually have it figured out now. They do some stupid shit with the tie down.
But that was a different time, you know.
But they do, that stuff works itself out.
I would like to see the price be fairly reasonable. One, we're facing inflation, you know, ridiculous, but let's be good about this. I mean, let's not give it away, but let's be reasonable about it. And, you know, we haven't invested, you know, we're not the tree farmers, so we haven't invested, you know, time, water, growing all these things.
Yeah.
You know, it's there. So if you have any ideas, you know, get back to Jen or Amanda and I, because we're handing this off to Jen to put together for those weekends. And
One of the weekends?
Do you have the ability to put a Google form on the website? That's how you make sure you don't oversell this thing, is just do a Google form, and then it's constantly populating people click sign up. It's constantly populating a spreadsheet, and when you hit 200, you take
Close
it.
down.
So just for perspective on
Yes,
the
I can do
pricing,
that.
the USDA trees that come out of pine, which is that way. And insanely, there's no trees over there. I don't know how anybody goes. That's where my family went for years. They're 20 per tree. And
So I think that's the state.
this is USDA. So yeah, this is through rec.
We always go one per, same thing.
So
if you go to Home Depot and buy a tree, you're spending at least $100. Now, granted, maybe it's in a little bit more pristine condition, but
Maybe a little
you
more
have
full.
the fun of.
Well,
So we've got, I mean, right now, the time to get this information out is now because these permits are already selling out. So I mean, within the metro, they've got the South Platte Ranger District, Pikes Peak,
So
South
I launched
Park,
this Monday.
Salida, Leadville, and San Carlos. That's far.
Jesus.
So these are all $20 per tree.
I think we could charge more than $20 a tree.
We probably could, I mean, did we?
I think part of this is that we clearly communicate who benefits. So when people say, well, where's this money go? How's it being spent? So as part of the narrative.
Getting some business participation and like making it an experience for the day.
Yeah.
Cut down your tree, go have some, you're nodding, so
Yeah, and this is what your money does for us.
that is
Yeah.
important, but also then tying it back into a Georgetown day where you get to go to Heaven Creek and have. What else, however we tie them down. I think it would be.
Sure.
super beneficial.
Buy chicken pizza.
We need to know what we are going to put the verbiage in that
Yeah,
about how this money is being spent. What does it go to, especially if I'm gonna launch this Monday?
yeah,
The other thing too, is the fire authority, Jeremy is gonna provide us with some information so that we can also share the benefit of, you know, what it's doing for the environment, you know.
that's great.
You know, so we're looking at, you know, not only the fire mitigation pieces, but
Yeah.
you know, we're just not cutting it down.
Yeah, right,
And I think that's important too.
It is.
We're also targeting an audience or, you know, part of the audience that we are targeting, you know, people care about that. And so we want to be able to say that, and then if we have some ideas, we've got to get this, you know, out there quick and then backfill it as we get closer to the time, you know, so maybe we're not saying that all of these businesses are involved at the first get-go, but then all of a sudden we can continuously update our information. I'd be concerned if we are selling permits and then the trees don't, people don't come, or it's a bad weather weekend, or, whatever kind of situation. If we sell out, we'll have to get that advertised out there, but, and I don't know if we're gonna have an exact amount,
I think if you direct them to sign up on the website through a Google form, you can constantly keep track, and then you just. When it's full, it's full.
So.
A simple statement like proceeds benefit Georgetown Business Promotions Commission. I think that's all you have to say there.
Okay.
And then, yeah, refund policy. Is it non-refundable in case there's a weather event? I mean, is
I
it?
think it's, the USDA permits are non-refundable.
Okay, then just say non-refundable.
You're done. So the only thing the USDA does that I think would be complicated for us at this point in the game is once you get your permit, they actually physically mail you your own tag, and we don't have the ability to do that. Then you wrap it around the bottom of your tree. But I mean, they're doing a much larger scale operation out in that.
A clipboard and a pen.
And the fire department is gonna kind of take care of a lot of that.
Sure.
They're gonna go out and pre-tag these trees so that when the person comes down with the tree that they selected, they're gonna have, 22-5, 22-7, 22-134. The good thing is, there's enough trees there, he said, that we can continue this program on an annual basis for at least another 4 or 5 years.
What?
And then maybe we just do it every other year or whatever, kind of thing.
So they have a plan if somebody tops one.
Well, and that's why they will have,
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying, but we know how great people are.
they will have people out there, and those are some of the, the dummy, cutting trees down 101 kind of thing, where are you cutting it, where do you make your cut, and we don't want something,
Are we providing the volunteers?
we're providing a couple of people up there, and the fire authority is providing a couple of people up there, so.
I think it's real life simple, you don't have them prepay, having to pay it up when they get there.
And that's what, so Mary and I talked yesterday about, obviously cash or check is easy to do. And she feels that there is a way that, we can run a credit card through, yeah, a system that we use like for our water billing. So she was gonna look into that. So we've got a little bit of time to kind of narrow that down, but it's like, come and get it and go home and take your tree and hopefully it doesn't fall off your car.
What is the date for proposing that we start the actual?
Through.
Yeah, no.
So that's what I would have them pay on the site, because they don't have refund issues, or you don't have, people put their credit card information out there. We don't have the security probably to set this up quickly.
That's I think, there's definitely a couple of means that we could use to capture credit cards out there for sure. The school, one of the biggest things we've done with the Brought booth is we started taking credit cards and we store them on an iPad. And it
makes all the difference in the world,
It does.
it's a big world, we all know it, so, we need to be able to utilize that.
The only other question I would have is, and this is potentially kind of a dumb question. What about road maintenance up to Silverdale? I know they keep it kind of decent to Cabin Creek, but I feel like we'd have to go further with it potentially if we get bad storms.
Well, we could just put the county on notice that we're gonna have an event up there, and like more attention paid to it that those weekends.
They usually keep it.
Carl sitting there an hour.
I know they plow it, but I feel like they kind of, they do it for the Excel trucks.
So I think those are a lot of the logistics, those things that.
I just picture somebody in a Honda.
Honda
Elantra. With this California plates, like
An e-bike.
traversing those switchbacks to go get that. Yeah,
So,
a Nissan ZX or something.
Okay.
so it's a short amount of time, but it sounds like everyone is, and again, so this will be a little bit more money that we're bringing in for business promotions that we may be able to use.
We were just blessed to do that
Okay.
so we can also do the media.
Okay.
So
I'm actually gonna
Yeah, email her right.
Yeah, it's better.
She got all.
Find out, yeah, the deadlines.
So we just need a motion on that, please, for $2,000 for a Christmas market ad at 5280.
Are we
And-
spending two or
So are you
one?
doing two or are you doing
She
half?
blessed us for 2. So up to 2, let's do that,
So on behalf of Historic Georgetown, I say thank you.
and you're recused. Who wants to make that motion?
I'll make it.
And a second.
Oh, okay. You want me to state it?
Yes, take the
Okay,
motion,
okay.
and I'm gonna pick up.
I move that Georgetown Business Promotion Commission dedicate up to $2,000 to assist Historic Georgetown Incorporated with the purchase of an ad. What's the publication?
5280.
5280 for the promotion of Georgetown Christmas Market 2022.
And a second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Ba-da-da.
Thank you.
And you're
I'll be the bearer of.
twice over today. And then on the Christmas tree program, I think that that's awesome. And a very, very cool thing for the town to, and for us. So.
Yeah.
We'll talk on it in the next couple of weeks and I will keep everybody updated. Good morning, sir. That's all right. You can come sit over here. It's almost your turn. Kevin, did you work on the mission statement?
No, these months are flying by really
I guess,
fast.
it's okay.
It's like, oh, it's been 4 weeks, not 10 days. Seems like 10 days.
Oh, good. Well, now it's perfect timing, sir. It's time for the town administrator's report.
Well, I just came from the Rotary Club, so Mary and I talked yesterday just to make sure something was said if I was not here, but today I'm here.
And I have your list in case you forget anything, so go ahead and I'll.
You can just give me the bullet and I'll explain it.
Okay, so why don't you talk about Argentine North?
Okay, so moving forward on Argentine North, the town has been, we have not gotten the official award letter yet from CDOT, but they've given us an email basically saying it's a formality before we get it. And what we've done from there is we've contacted Rick Palmer to do survey of just location of utility lines, right of ways. That's all been done, and we've submitted an RFP request for proposal and had 2 firms submit proposals. And we're in the process of selecting one. That too the formality. We've chosen one, but we can't officially grant it to them until we get our award letter.
I'm sorry, back up. The RFP is specifically related to the Argentine North project. Huh?
So this will be putting a 5-foot sidewalk on the west side, and on the east side, a 10-foot bike path.
I think it's the other.
No, it's the other way
Oh,
around.
the other way, sorry. And that will go from 22nd Street to 15th Street. So all the way to the roundabout. That'll connect, now give a path to the downtown for people who are, visiting and at the motels and hotels and stuff like that. So that's that one.
That's really good.
That is like a $900,000, almost $1 million grant.
Is the RFP for the construction of it, you mean?
The RFP will be for the engineering. And that will be 20% of the cost is basically what we determined what we believe that proposal should cost for the engineering to do that. And the rest will go towards construction. The original proposal was 40% of the cost. And we submitted back and saying that's unacceptable. If you choose to rebid, we would like for you to. If not, then we're going to bring it back over for a brand new RFP. So that's good. They did adjust their numbers and they fit within our original estimations.
And what's the timing of that? Obviously, we're not doing that in the next 6 months because you don't pour concrete around here in
No.
the next 6 months.
No, the engineering should be done by spring. So that's where we are. Once we get the engineering, then we can start whatever the next stage is, steps for construction, doing bids for contractors and so forth.
Which is a great segue for the other road maintenance construction that you were talking about.
Yep, so where we are, thank you, Mary. Where we are on the road improvements, it's kind of disappointing. We have monies allocated in budgets to spend, and we've been working with a company, ESI, for months to try to negotiate a cost. And they were currently in Silverthorne, and so kind of waiting for them to finish that project and then head over here. Our temperatures dropped significantly within the last month. Therefore, it takes us out of the CDOT standard for doing asphalt, which is 50 degrees. Unless we sign a waiver saying we'll take full responsibility if it fails, which we're not going to do. It's too much of a liability on the town, even though they say they do this all day long, but I'm like, no, not good enough for us. So they have agreed to, because the contract for a price that will be honored, and they'll do that in I guess, June, when the temperature.
I was gonna say it'll be 50 again in June. Probably.
I know. So it'll probably be till June when we start our paving. So we have plenty of projects on, in the hopper for that. On the other hand, the concrete projects that are more drainage related, like concrete pans, that will still go on because they can, the temperature is different for the concrete than it is for the asphalt, the binding elements. And I think the problem is they would be bringing the asphalt from like a 2-hour drive from the Front Range. And they can't guarantee the temperature would stay there with our temperatures surrounded, dropping it.
The roundabout is an example of what happens when you waive the CDOT standard. The CDOT waived the standard when they paved that, and it started coming apart a year later. So you don't want to do
Well, that's good to know. Well, what we did is we actually contacted multiple organizations, kind of to be an independent voice of saying, is this just a overkill guideline or just a real? And everyone said, don't do it. Everyone that we had contacted. So that was a safeguard. Mary, what's next?
The lights on Clear Creek Excel is coming out.
Yeah, so evidently there's been quite a few lights that are out on Clear Creek Drive. Scooter's been monitoring that, and Excel is aware now. Some of it is, it's come up with, it's more of an issue than just changing the light. So some of these are wiring issues that they're trying to work through. So that's where we are on that. I do not have an update for 6th Street yet.
You knew what I was about to
Yes,
ask.
I knew it. I felt it.
You felt it.
Yeah, we have reached out to them. I've not heard anything back. I need to talk to Scooter to see if they've contacted him.
The long-term stay at hotels.
Hang tight 1 second on that. On 6th Street, have you noticed anything new?
No.
So it's still the same status quo. Are there any other town-like issues that we need to get on this radar?
I noticed one of our streetlights on Argentine, the
I was
thing
gonna
fell off. Yeah,
Yeah.
the wires are.
Yeah.
I don't even know where that piece is. Yeah, we retrieved it or not.
Are you guys did go down by Cabin Creek, lighting wise?
We don't have any lights down there.
Isn't there some?
No, there's a couple. They're fine.
They're on the railing. Very pretty.
It's beautiful.
No, the street lights. don't work.
Has anyone noticed lights out on 6th Street?
They're-
On Halloween, yeah, I saw a couple.
Okay.
Okay.
There's holes in my eyes.
I know that's.
Okay,
Here's one of your new jobs, now that you're on promotions, is to constantly look up.
yeah.
Well, actually, not for you, for me, I have to constantly look up. I love it, I'm constantly doing this. Yeah, no, there's, and then coming down on Halloween, we saw some lights too, so.
Dude,
It was a great time to be out. I was like, oh, streetlights. My husband's like, aren't we trick or treating? I'm like, I gotta write this down.
I know. So the one that's on Argentine that the top fell off,
Yeah.
where exactly is that one?
I think it's by Buzz.
Yeah, I was gonna say 11th kind of, but it's not 11th. It's like,
Yeah.
it's like right across the street from the Buzz.
Okay.
Like between the market and the Mountain Buzz. It's very obvious.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know. I can probably find it just looking up.
Yeah.
yes, there are wires dangling.
Yeah, okay.
And then as you, there was one out on, by the courthouse. That we saw on, it's like on 5th. Or I'm sorry, that would be Argentine. It would be on Argentine.
Go on walkabouts at night.
Maybe one by Shop International this morning.
That was probably the one I saw the other day.
And then I did just do the one over by the Turkey. I did that yesterday.
I don't know if I saw that. Okay, well, there you go. Have fun, more lights for you, sir.
Great.
Enjoy. Long-term hotel stays.
Long-term hotel stays, we have, we've been discussing this in the Board of Selectmen through memo. Our attorney, Jerry Dahl, has written up. Well, let me back up. This really is brought back because of a 2016 push that we were trying to do back then. It went through the Board of Selectmen. No, it went through the Planning Commission as a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen. And then for some reason, it was tabled for more information. And then, you know, time goes on and out of sight, out of mind. And so recently they've had a lot of issues. And it's probably not just recently, they've always had issues at the Georgetown Lodge, or even what it was called before that.
Mountain, or not,
It's been called a lot.
the
Yeah.
Super 8.
Super 8, yeah, so it's been a revolving door, but in that, it's never designed for long-term stay. They've had a lot of issues with transient drugs, trafficking and everything else in there. And so when they've gone in many times, the rooms are boarded up and they're partitioned so that it's just funky. It was never designed to be like that. There's no eyes going in. And so they brought it back to us to say, let's look at this again. There should be an ordinance designed for a long-term stay for these. There should be certain upgrades for kitchens and things like that, or even the walls. I don't even think that there's firewalls between it, you know, for these kind of things. So Jerry Dahl's kind of looking at it too, submitted. So where we are right now is we have some guidelines for what we're looking for this long-term stay. It would be over 29 days. And there's some requirements that, you know, we're looking at a percentage of you could either decide on a percentage of your hotels, you know, maybe 10%, 20%. Then if you're going to do that, then you would have to upgrade those rooms. And so where we are right now is we have a memo that we're going to be sending out to the hotels and motels around town, giving them a heads up that we're going to have a public hearing. And when is the public hearing?
November 30th.
November 30th. So kind of giving everyone a heads up that we're looking at this seriously. They can opt out and then they'd have to prove that they're not doing that. But if they do opt in, then there'll be guidelines for that.
What do you mean opt in, opt out?
That they would say, yes, we're going to do long-term stay at our short-term or our hotel motel.
Okay,
If they're going to opt in, then there's requirements that they'll have to do upgrades that would be satisfactory for a long-term stay.
and if they choose to opt
If
out,
they choose out, then they cannot do it.
you were saying they have to prove that they're not doing it or something, or?
Well, that's what we're going to
Negative.
determine, like how would we, how are we going to inspect that?
Yeah.
Monitor that?
Well, they're commercial buildings,
Yeah,
so as commercial buildings, the town is empowered to routinely inspect those.
yeah.
So that's the easy treatment of that.
And I think the other dilemma was when I just remembered as you said that in 2016, the motel hotels said that they would do their own monitoring. And what we found out is that no, they're not, that the ball was dropped. And therefore we're gonna have to pass an ordinance to do that so that we can monitor this.
They might be monitoring it, but they're not doing anything about it.
Yeah, and it's just, we don't know. And so that's that. Any questions about that anymore?
How would, Craig, to your point, those buildings can be inspected, but it feels like we already have some code enforcement issues within the community where things are either, I don't want to say ignored, but it's difficult to get people accountable. So what would the end result on this be? Would it be the police evicting those people? Would it be helping them relocate? Like is it citing the proprietor? Like what becomes of the long game?
Because we're still in that early stage, I don't know. You know, that's that, you know, we're looking at fines. We just hired a code enforcement officer that starts today. So, yeah, but you might have met him.
Oh, hello.
So that's, you know, we haven't had an officer that can dedicate to code enforcement for a long time. And so now we have somebody that can actually
And we're calling him a community service.
community service officer, even though our code says it's a code enforcement officer. So, and he knows that that's what it is, but to make it more friendly to the community.
A warm and welcoming.
The concern I have is that because unfortunately, knowing some of the situations that the people who are using this service are in. Is they're not getting this for, they're paying outrageous
Yeah.
amounts of money to these properties. And I think that it's honestly borderline predatory.
Yeah,
But in the same respect, pushing somebody into a like immediate homelessness because they have a dirtbag landlord, more or less, is a really hard balance. And that's the only thing I want to raise concern about, because I'm aware of some of the costs for some of these
Can the
individuals.
advocates be brought into this conversation for this reason?
yeah, and
So
so that
that-
public meeting, I think that should be addressed
Yeah,
to be a
they
concern.
should at least be aware that this is happening.
I mean, you
because it
got
might
two-
impact their organization.
Yeah, you got two types of people that typically stay there. One are the transient.
Mhm.
They're just, they're transient. They're here today, gone tomorrow. And then you have somebody who's here long-term. I mean, you have construction type of workers that are gonna stay here long because according to the project, that would probably be a contract related with the company. You know, I think that's one of those kind of normal procedures. You know, they're gonna be here for 3 months and the company pays the bill and there's inspections that way. But then you have the group like you're describing. It's they can't afford anything. They cannot get their credit's so bad that they can't even find something stable. And they're stuck with paying super high prices per night.
Like $550 a week, $600 a week.
Yeah.
This,
And I don't know if but I don't know how Georgetown falls out with that. You know, do we have a large percentage of that? I don't know. That's something in discussion with the hotel motels that we're gonna find out.
We're just starting this. We understand the Board of Selectmen knows that this is going to be a process, and the code and some of the suggestions and the conversation points have been brought up exactly that. You know, we've got seasonal workers, we've got, you know, contract workers, we've got people that just appear, and there's different limitations within each of the hotels if they, you know, continue to do that longer term housing.
the
So
construction guys are a great example, and I'm sure you see it too. So I mean, but those guys are not necessarily the problem because they've got per diems, so they have means for food.
Yeah.
They're generally not like, you know, they receive housekeeping services, but on a limited basis, so like once a week. And when I travel for work, I would stay in hotels for 2-3 months at a time. But I would generally be in like extended stays and things like that, depending on the location I was traveling to. So that's separate. I'm thinking more of protecting the families that we know exist. That's my.
And our law enforcement needs a little bit more substance to go in with the, you know, with the situation that's at hand and not allowing the hotels to continue this. So it's a work in progress. This is not gonna happen. November 30th, December 1, we're not implementing some new policy. So.
For sure.
But the real drive is these were never designed for long-term stay.
Nope.
And so when you have someone cooking food, it's dangerous. You're talking about a major fire hazard and there's no regulations on it right now. So anyways, it's not, Georgetown's not the only one that's looking at this. Idaho Springs is also looking at it too, because they have some significant issues with theirs too. With the lower crime related issues that they're entrenched and it's hard to get it out without a change in ordinance. So.
Gateway commercial.
Gateway commercial, yay, this is another one we're looking at, another ordinance change. Currently, our gateway commercial is designed for commercial. And it's protected that way. What we're seeing right now is many developers interested in housing, which you can't do housing in the gateway commercial. Most of these developers that I've talked to are interested in doing a mixed use, which would be commercial on the bottom, and then residential on the above floors. That is still not allowed in our gateway commercial. So I know it's crazy. You can do a special use permit, but it only, but it would only be it would still have to be majority use commercial of like, currently what would be accepted is like an apartment, one apartment, but everything else is commercial. And no developer that I've talked to is interested in that model. They're all looking for mixed use completely, commercial bottom, residential top. And that is what we really need as well. And our code is hindering from what we need. And so we're looking at some changes. Jerry has given us lots of scenarios that potentially could be added to the ordinance. We've taken it to the planning commission for discussion. They are not interested in any of the uses except for the one I just mentioned. Commercial bottom, residential top. They don't want a mixture of things. Or one building standalone could be commercial, second building standalone could be residential. They're not interested in that either. They're only interested in the one model. So that's where we are. That they would take a recommendation to the board, and then the board can decide what they want because you supersede their decision. But it's still, we're still in discussion mode of that.
And that's all you got?
Yes.
I have something for you. Can you follow up with CDOT on what we can do on the water tower? So it doesn't just say now Georgetown,
Yeah.
because it looks weird. And this was on our agenda
Okay.
a long time ago, prior to you.
It comes back up when we lose the leaves, because now you can see it again.
Yeah,
Like for all of summer, you can't see.
Yeah.
It's still, and it's kind of low as well.
It's low. I have reached out to them. I haven't lately, but I will again because I can, and I can do it too, Rick, because I have that call in. Our Georgetown sign coming east is, you can't even read that it says Georgetown.
Right.
It barely looks like town.
Yeah.
yeah.
That's all you can make out of the letter, and that's obviously a CDOT thing, so I can also follow up on that. Just write that out there.
I mean, at this point, I think if they're not gonna let us fix it, we should just paint over it completely and get it to be into like an aesthetic that is like
Just paint it back to the green that
green,
was voted on by the public.
and then it's just green, and then, you
Well,
know,
maybe not voted on, but they had input.
Well,
That
supposedly,
green was chosen by citizens of Georgetown.
yeah, supposedly, when
Be very, you know, it was supposed to like blend in.
Blend in,
and all
not
of a
stand
sudden
out.
Came and advertised. it,
Right.
Billboard.
Right.
You know,
Right.
which.
I think the easiest solution is just to
paint
paint
it
it out.
green for now. Yeah, it looks really awkward now.
and what I was told too is that CDOT has a regulation how many times you can use the word Georgetown and exit. And because we had multiple ones, they said you can't have your signs and this.
It's very on brand for CDOT.
Too confusing to the pedestrian.
That's also how it was described to me, is that if we couldn't say exit in Georgetown more than we already had, so
Yeah.
we could just say now. Now.
Don't even it's Georgetown. Would be better than,
I mean, honestly, if it's, I know it's not ideal to paint right now, but if we could maybe talk about, I don't know, whose purview with that, like who paints it, is that?
That's, well, that would be us.
Yeah.
We certainly don't want to
What
pay, it's the town, that's the responsibility. We have to all get out there with paintbrushes and rollers, but we certainly don't have that where CDOT's gonna tell us, you know, I mean, we put words on it.
We probably honestly just need a contract painter, right?
Yes.
Like, that's easy enough. Okay.
I guess, and the last thing too is you might have noticed a helicopter going by.
Yes.
They are removing the rocks that are on the rock fence.
Yeah.
That was from the mudslide, rock slide that we had. So that is what they're doing. They've got crews up there. They had small excavators delivered
Mhm.
and buckets and things like that for them to put all the rocks in. This may take months to get rid of all the rocks.
Yeah.
So this is not going to be an easy overnight project, but they may shut down the interstate in intervals of 20 minutes as they move the rocks down. I think now they're just filling up those containers with rocks right now. They're working right now. I looked up there and saw it, but.
This is winter in Georgetown. These are all the fun things we get to look forward to. Rock scaling. Wait till they shut it down for avalanche blasting.
In Summit County.
Yeah, exactly. Or Berthoud. Wayfinding. Let's talk about wayfinding. So this is going to be on the agendas because there's been obviously some requests from merchants to specifically 6th Street to improve the overall scope of wayfinding and how our visitors are getting around town. So I'm not 100% sure what topic on that you wanted to take with it. I know it was something you did want on the agenda.
Yeah, I think it's more of like, I want to bring it to the table for us to discuss it. I don't have plans. I have nothing except that I have spoke to multiple merchants and it seems like it always comes up. You know, like even when we did this little town hall meeting, that was another one, and I forgot to write that one down, but that was another one that someone had brought up amongst many things that. As we sat there and talked to people about the lodging tax and what that means, we also asked them, what do you like about Georgetown? What would you like to change about Georgetown? And that was a loaded question because they gave us lots of suggestions. But anyways, according to the wayfinding, it would be ideal if we can take advantage of using signage to help direct people. You know, people from the Loop, people who are at the lake, who the Loop or even Guanella Pass. How do we take advantage of signage where it'd be easy for people to do? I know the QR code kind of thing is a popular one that really COVID really helped that become more usable and you know, people, they just understand it a lot better. I mean, even cameras today now automatically take you to the site as soon as you take a picture of it. Or you don't have to take a picture, you just open your camera and it takes you to the site. So discussions that I've heard from people are, it would be nice to have a directory. And I'm going to say this, but I don't mean it like this because I know you're immediately going to shove it down and reject it. But I'm going to say it because I don't know a way to articulate any better. But if you go to an outlet mall, there it is. I said it.
I was bracing for something way more.
You see the signage that tells you you're here, and it lists all the opportunities that you can take advantage of. So as you're walking, it's not everywhere, but it's at strategic places. And so in that mindset, if we could have something like explore Georgetown, you are here. And if you're looking for museums, you know, people want to come in, they're coming to Georgetown, here's your museums. I mean, it could be as simple as it has a QR code right there of the museums, and then it takes you to the website immediately, so it doesn't have filled with information. And you don't have to constantly update it. But these are just thoughts that people had. Trails, museums, shopping, you know, food and attractions.
Some of the conversation with the Stroke Park rental was that there would be, you know, that non-outlet type kiosk type opportunity with
Well,
that information.
We don't want to call it that, but it'll be unique to Georgetown and historic looking.
Yeah. Well, I couldn't agree more. When a visitor is here, a first time visitor for sure, there's a lot of disorientation. So we need to improve the visitor experience by helping them be able to figure it out, navigate it. I will say that I have a wayfinding project under my belt. I did a wayfinding for a 48-acre landscape, a cemetery, to find, you know, the famous burials, where the visitor center was, and the bathrooms. And so people can't find the bathroom here in this building, just because the way the sign out front is so small and it just doesn't work. And so I know that there are a lot of issues with people not being able to find bathrooms because they come into my business and we don't have a bathroom. Parking, all of it. What I would like to say is, because of my background in wayfinding, having done a big project before, please call on me and I will have opinions on this. One of which would be to try to get rid of all of the different generations of wayfinding that have popped up over the years and settle on one cohesive look. And I think that the one that floats to the top would be the House of signs, because they're so dominant and because we recently invested in their repair. So I think that sets the aesthetic, but there needs to be different, you know, layers, levels. So those are the major ones, and then the fine tuning, like where are the bathrooms.
So a suggestion that I would maybe have for our next meeting is to give this about 30 minutes and for us to pull up a town map and actually mark from the roundabout going towards Cabin Creek and the lake. And then coming back in towards 6th Street and identify every wayfinding spot as a within a
side of the community center has some wayfinding and it doesn't match anything.
And if we go through and basically identify the areas that we need to maximize the wayfinding, and then we can start to source bids on what that would look like.
I would say go with put out an RFP and get a firm that can you know, take everything that we've observed and then give us a proposal. Absolutely, that's what we did. We did the patterns of our visitors. We do the questions that we're being asked, and then someone else designs it.
Sorry, go ahead.
That's it.
So RFP. I think what we should do is, I mean, if you want to do some preliminary stuff on what currently exists.
Yeah.
Bring that into the next meeting, and then we'll put this higher on the agenda, give it about 30 minutes of our time at the next meeting. And do kind of a work session within the meeting.
I was kind of thinking of gathering what exists, but also where the opportunities.
Sure.
Yes.
We can. all
Yeah,
map
we
it.
might remove some things, we might
Right.
switch some things out and add things. All of
What
that's. yeah.
exists and where are the opportunities, I guess is how I would.
Take some pictures, please, so that we're not all like.
Yeah.
"What does that look like and what-"
Yeah. Yeah, maybe a slide deck.
So.
We can do a screen share and just go through the different.
Let's do
and
that.
then-
Okay.
Cause there are kind of these unique landmarks. I don't know. One of the things I thought was so funny all through leaf season was the amount of tall boot, flappy hat, flannel scarf people that were taking pictures in front of the old Georgetown sign.
The rock,
Yeah.
yeah,
like,
no, that's part of the wayfinding.
It's so funny, like, I'm like, oh, and they're like selfieing, like with the apartments in the background. But it was like that very,
That's what
and if you look at Instagram, if you follow our hashtag, I can't tell you how many times that shot was on Instagram in the last 6 weeks. Coming down from the past. There's, you know, we've got that great, you know, vista view corner, but then as you get down into basically in front of Rose Street and that whole corner there, there's wayfinding opportunities there for people.
Right,
There's wayfinding opportunities from the Capital Prize. I mean, so there's a lot that we can do with it. So if you want to do that preliminary stuff, and then we'll come to the next meeting with that, and then
well, this is a big project.
this is
Yeah.
huge.
I mean, it's a small project could be good,
piecemeal.
the way we've done it, but I mean, done well, this is a very big project and a very important project.
It's a
But this is
super,
very-
yeah, and it's gonna be
Should be an
fun.
expensive project.
Yeah. It's
Sell
good.
more Christmas tree.
Right.
Right.
Beat Rick up through some more.
Get the counties.
Oh,
Counties lodging tax. Give it to us. Let's get the counties money.
No, it's our money.
Before we move on to the next, I just wanted to say we are confirmed for the 1/3 ad space in
Great.
5280.
Awesome.
I just need that.
Yay, thank you.
I have a question,
Good
just
work.
because this is, I think we all agree it's important. And it's been hodgepodge for a long time. It would be amazing to unify this whole thing,
Yes.
and it would be so good for the people coming in and for us. You know, it's, we can point to people, we're like, hey, this is great. And you know, one thing that I love about your place, and I'm gonna brag on you for a second, because I love it. When I go into Cabin Creek, I love seeing the video of Georgetown, and it just goes over and over in different seasons and different opportunities, but it lets you see what's available here, and it's gorgeous. And I mean, those are kind of the things I think of too, like if we had something somewhere where you're coming in, you see that beautiful video of showing things in Georgetown. It's
Because
just,
people sit there and literally stare at that thing
Yeah.
for the entire hour.
well, I find myself staring at it because it's just from the car races to the creek and the wildlife and so.
Does it make sense to add as a bullet point under the wayfinding conversation, public parking?
Sure.
Yes.
100%.
I mean, that's
I
part
think
of the
so.
whole,
Yeah.
it's part of the conundrum for visitors.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe addressing that as a subtopic.
Because then that goes right into the lake paid parking.
Before we get to lake paid parking, I do want to talk about, so I think just in the RFP. I think we need to put an emphasis out there that we're looking for a mix of digital wayfinding that could be in strategic places that guests could use. We don't want digital on 6th Street, like out on the sidewalk,
Yeah.
but at the visitor center.
Or
Or
community center.
Community center.
Uh-huh.
those are good spots for those types of things, and then using the more traditional signage. Digital allows us to update our businesses.
And I don't know what this would look like, but I want to throw it into the conversation is also potentially a braille component.
Mhm.
So
For the, yeah, in the pedestrian area.
That's right.
Sure.
Yeah,
The,
And so
the
let's-
digital marketing too, so I talked to someone. This was during COVID and he was basically, it was way too expensive for Ryan and I. But he was using a geocaching type of technology to propagate to people's cell phones within the area, maps. Of where they were and highlighting certain businesses and. He was specifically targeting winter, he was coming out of Winter Park and he was moving this direction. It would have cost Ryan and it was extraordinary. It was like, I think like $8,000 or $9,000 a month. Which is way too much, but yeah. But it was this whole sort of like, basically, he's like, any cell phone within this area will get a push. I felt like that was also invasive and creepy. That was the other reason we didn't want to do it. I'm like, just to send a random message, but using the digital marketing aspect, we could target for people from, different languages and having components for them to hear information about the area in Spanish or French or German or whatever. Braille, obviously highlighting events, highlighting historical landmarks like the old jail is right there, and there's a lot we could do with it to make it that it's not over the top. And if we had those places like the Loop, the VC, somewhere maybe even if the weather could support it and it wouldn't get broken, if you could, like, is there like a case by the lake, maybe? I don't know.
We have one down there, it's just not maintained.
But like, yeah,
There was one installed as part of the Tom Benoff Trail project, and we just don't keep up with it.
that's true. I forget about that. I look at it every time I walk around the lake and yeah, there's a
They
drain
don't put stuff in there, but it's really hard to keep it
Yeah.
from blowing away.
right.
Then when you go around and take pictures of the locations of the existing wayfinding, if you could also add who the property owner is,
Sure,
because it does vary. A lot of times it will be town of Georgetown, but community center, there's one right there. And then, prospects like the VC, that's a different owner there. So
Sure.
it's going to be a big collaborative sort of thing. And so let's make sure we identify the stakeholders.
okay.
Okay.
So just going on that, it triggered another thought that even Cassandra mentioned some of these things last time. That some of the signs, if you click on it, it takes you to that, but it also captures your information. And then we can track that too, especially like at the visitor center of how many people that are actually looking at our signs or at the train loop or at the, wherever we put them. It's like we could start seeing, and there's ways that you can send messages to invite them to come back.
Geotagging is a huge endeavor on the forefront for next year, and we are funding to be able to do that. But yes, all of those things will play right back into what she was talking about. Some of that has been implemented, but not Georgetown specific and not on the scale that we can geotag it. I mean, without being offensive.
Yeah, right. It's just the technologies.
It's
way
there.
more than what we realize.
And yes, when people do click on those QR codes, do use that, we have the ability to track all of that and send them specific geotargeted messages.
Yeah. I guess the other thing too is, as we're gathering this information, to do it right, it's going to take some time.
Yeah.
I mean, we just don't want to throw something together. It's like, let's walk through and I like the idea of doing RFP, but part of this is also going, where's this funding coming from? And because if we're going to do it right, it's going to be expensive. And so my question would be, if I guess the question is, if the ballot language passes or lodging tax, would this be coming out of that?
I mean,
It could, it enhances the visitor experience, which
that's
is
right.
what our lodging tax is really
Mhm.
aimed towards the bulk of it for the
Yeah.
majority of the funding. But again, we're talking that we're gonna start to visit this more with some detail next month, and it's gonna take several months for us to get through this. So by that time, we're in a better position. I mean, I hate how it always takes forever to get projects done, but maybe if we target one or two, but then we're talking about what our 2024 budget is going to be, and we'll have it.
Yeah. Right.
The other thing to keep in mind is a big project like this could be phased over time.
Yeah.
And so, it could be the execution of it, the planning could be 1 year. And then phase one installation, phase two installation, phase three installation. So it could be a multi-year project. That way we could spread funds out to other things. But I think this is a very important one. I think it's overdue. It lifts everybody up, even if they're not spending money in Georgetown, they still need to navigate it to find, where things are.
With the way, because. I mean, obviously, the ballot measure is diverting the county revenue. But the ballot language, not through any fault of anyone, is a little confusing. And so if we don't end up seeing the results that we're looking for on the November election, I still think we need to try and get the project moving and bid it and do the RFP. I mean, because, there's so much with the county's got their own thing. There's just a lot of moving parts in November, but I think we still have to push this forward regardless of if the county retains the lodging tax or it becomes ours.
If we're convincing enough, I mean. Budgets are plans and plans change and if we're convincing enough in front of the board of selectmen and hold the, sharp object behind Rick and we can. If we can convince people that it's important enough, and it's gonna actually pay, generate an increased sales tax revenues, and I mean, that's the bottom line, is we have to show how it's going to maintain and or increase, and generate return on investment, which is kind of a no-brainer, right? We want to, Tom Hale always said it best, we want to monetize it. We don't need to attract new visitors, we need to monetize the visitors that we have. And that's what Wayfinding, in my opinion, does. It directs people and holds them here a little bit longer and helps us monetize those visitors so that we're all reaping the benefits both from the business revenue perspective as well as the sales tax.
Especially if we can really tie into the geo-tracking stuff, man, you can really track your return on investment that way. And we can see where they're going.
They popped in here, they popped in here, they popped in here.
Yeah, that would be crazy.
All right, well, we're like right on time, friends, so it's an exciting topic for us to continue to look forward to. And the last thing on today's agenda, I thought there was two things on the agenda.
I did put whoever is gonna replace you, but I must have added that after.
It's okay.
Sorry.
That's okay, we're still gonna do that today.
Good.
Cause I quit, no, I'm joking. Lake pay parking, go ahead.
I guess this is another one. This is one of my goals for this year, that I sent it to the board. And is to look at this and find ways that it would be affordable, but also generate funds for us to hire staff to take care of our parking lots and our trails. Because right now we have one person. And we have a part-time person in the summer, but it is a lot on that one person who's working constantly to try to maintain this. So our first step right now is we've ordered, or we're going to order this week, 20 truckloads of gravel to go so that we can at least maintain the lots. What I would like to be able to do is, it's almost kind of similar. Can we get a company to give us a design, how to maximize this space so that we can look at paid parking? And this would be for all of those parking lots, and then whoever would help us to look at this, which one would be a public parking lot, which would be paid. I've talked to John Kane a lot from Idaho Springs and how they did theirs, and they do have a company that they basically they brought in all the kiosks where you can pay to park. They did all the signage and all that kind of stuff. They have parking attendants that go through and monitor. It's basically they scan license plates. It would be, the way their system is it's free for people in the county, and it is only for those who are out of town that's paying. And we would probably do something similar so that it doesn't put the burden on our people, but if you pay from out of town. It's a percentage that the company who does the paid parking would keep, 70%, 80%, and then the town would get the other 20%. And then the money that's generated goes towards specific projects that they determine. It would be kind of similar to something like that I would like to present once I get a plan together, but I don't have a plan. It's just, these are still ideas because it is our goal this year for me to work on.
Did Idaho Springs tell you how low it went when they introduced paid parking? I just want to know, John. about it.
John wasn't around when they first implemented it. I don't think he enjoyed that.
I'm not, so to be clear, I'm not criticizing the program. Just don't let Idaho Springs deceive you in thinking it was smooth as a silk, because it was not.
It's a hateful flow. I would, honestly, I think there's a conversation to be had about whether that's who we want to project ourselves as. I think we have an appeal, personally, I think we have an appeal to a demographic that might be a little turned off by that. But I think it's much bigger conversation.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, it's,
I think we
I
have
don't
other
have a
ways to
plan.
generate the revenue that you're looking to. I really do. I think we have other ways to generate the revenue, but
I think the lake is something that probably we do need to find a way to monetize in some capacity.
couldn't agree.
Like, I think that there's definitely means to monetize the lake for sure. And
I had one call yesterday. They want to get married on the lake.
like standing in the middle of it.
Well, she wasn't that specific.
Okay. The lake is a very important draw from the metro area, and there's no doubt that what happens down there, especially in the summer, is really bad. Like, I mean, I just don't know where people live if they don't throw their trash away, but apparently that's the thing.
yes.
The concern I would have about paid parking is, I don't disagree with the notion of it personally. I have an issue with how it would get executed because and I'm very wary because Idaho Springs had massive, major problems. And like locals got tickets. I got one. I don't get one anymore. and
I did. I got one 2 weeks ago.
Did you really?
Yeah.
And then, so, yeah, but I mean, I never paid mine and I never heard anything about it, so it went away somehow, but I mean, there's $75 tickets.
I just read you have to register your vehicle every.
I'm supposed to have to register.
Every 3 months.
Every 3 months
You have to register your car. If you don't register it every 3 months, you're subject to a ticket.
So every 3 months, we're expected to go on and register our cars.
That's what happened. So they use small.
I'm not-
They changed that?
That's what I just read, like 2 days ago, I just read that.
They had mine registered and I've done it like last year and it's still showing up.
I showed them, okay. Well, that's what they said, if you want to be on the safe side, register your car every 3 months to avoid a ticket.
I mean, I never paid my ticket and it was $75 and I didn't get arrested or anything, so.
Yes.
that's fine.
This time.
This
Yeah.
time. But I mean, they're expensive tickets to down there, so I just would be concerned if that, I mean, I'm not against monetizing that parking at all. I don't let Idaho Springs fool you into thinking that it was like. That they rolled it out one day, the merchants lost their minds, the minor street stores, I mean, they were. The minor street businesses were hot for a long time about it.
And the road closure too.
Kind of was, it's one of those things that, I mean, I think they're more into the road closure now than they were, but Justin, go ahead.
Yeah, the other thing that maybe it's already been thought about would be the effect on the neighboring streets. If people were to be charged to park at the lake, obviously they'd probably, first thing they would do is round the block.
I have a major problem with that.
Yeah.
Sure.
Any one of those neighbors down there.
Yeah, so,
22nd that turns into Clear Creek.
You'd probably,
That's already a.
We put notice parking signs all the way up now.
you'd probably have to make everything else residential permit
Yeah.
around it.
Okay, it's just,
That's hard.
I mean, I can even park across the street to drop off a check to CCEDC because, I mean, it's ridiculous in Idaho Springs.
No, the Idaho Springs parking situation is, I had to go to a meeting at Carlson yesterday. And I had to park behind Bojo's
Yeah,
and
and pay.
I did not pay. And I was like, if I get a ticket, I will happily walk and stop off.
Well, can I take just a poll? Who would be interested that we should pursue this? And then let's find out who would not be interested in pursuing this. Just to kind of gives me direction. And if we are interested, then we can take the next step. But show of hands, who is interested in putting some energies and looking at this? And who is not interested?
I
don't mean-
I hate to be neutral, I think, I don't like to start off a conversation with,
Yeah,
from a don't do it perspective. I think if there's any level of interest on your part or part of anybody that, you know, it's worth some level of investigation, identifying the pros and cons kind of thing, but kind of high level. And then if it doesn't apply from there, then you have a little bit more solid, because when the topic comes up again next year, you go, well, we only looked at this and here were some of the issues. I would be a proponent of looking at it in greater context of monetizing lake visitation, right? And maybe
So what
that
else
goes
do you
back
do?
to our wayfinding conversation. That might go to improvement of our freaking facilities down there. Dear God, what an embarrassment those are. I'll just be frank. You know, we literally don't spend anybody down there, except to occasionally, you know, plow through a parking lot. And by the way, the park day is doing a fantastic job maintaining that trail. My wife and I walk it 4 times a week.
Yeah.
Fantastic job maintaining the trail. That money we spend.
Yeah.
But in terms of actually investing in the infrastructure down there to truly monetize that, build an event center on that damn thing, making some money. You know, be very specific and bold about it, I think would be a better conversation than paid parking at the lake.
And a multi-level parking garage, right?
Yeah. We'll park along Argentine Street.
Randy likes that, tickets, right?
hello, sir. Did you just come to say hey?
Partially came because it occurred to me I should have been asked to be put on the agenda for the timeliness of the seat.
We have
Did you have a moment?
6 minutes before I quit, so.
You have a moment.
Yeah.
That was just per chance I was here during that discussion of the parking. I don't think Idaho Springs is the boom they think it is. The company supervising it take most of their revenue from that. It doesn't help, but it does definitely put a lot of people off. Citizens, shoppers, everything else. I'm here more timely to the season. It's the smaller portion of the group, but everybody's going to hear about it. Winter's here. CDOT is not going to keep this open, this highway open by any means. We just all know that, so this is usually a speech I give every year if we need to close the town off and not allow people in, is for public safety. We can't help it. We're very cognizant of the need to be able to get business into town. However, most of the people that try to get to town have no interest in doing anything but finding a shortcut and blocking the roads until the highway opens and are not inclined to do anything else. Everything we tried over 2 decades now, going and sending them downtown, tell there's food, everything else has never worked. And it is just a public safety necessity when we do it. We try not to, we don't close the highway. CDOT closes the highway or state patrol or some entity there because it's not passable. We do have to close off the town when it is at capacity. We cannot have all the roads blocked all the way into the neighborhoods. When everybody's GPS will say, well, go up 22nd Street and go up through and you'll be able to get back on the highway. They're not accurate, but it puts hours and hours of people blocked both directions all the way through the Meadows neighborhood. We've seen that too many times.
What's your threshold for like, quote unquote, shutting off town?
Threshold as far as when we do it.
Yeah, I mean, what triggers
The time.
what triggers that decision when CDOT closes the interstate? What then triggers your decision to close off the town?
Not immediate. That's what you're asking.
No, I'm just asking, but
Not immediate. It depends on what the length of the closure is going to be, traffic time, traffic day. Because they will come from every direction. They will try and circumvent with the GPS feature that everybody now has. They will try coming up Alvarado. And we just historically, we know what it turns into. Anybody that needs to come into town is allowed into town. During the weekdays, they have business here, they come on in. This last closure,
I was just gonna ask
was-
about that one.
Hmm?
I was just gonna bring up the last closure.
yeah, this last closure was well before Georgetown, so everyone's stuck in the queue of traffic. We just couldn't do anything about. And then it was also closed beyond Georgetown, all the way up the hill, because of course, there was an inch of snow on the ground and nobody was prepared. So no chains, no adequate traction. And it started at 8 o'clock in the morning, so everybody's saying they're coming in, just gonna go get breakfast. On a Thursday, there was no place open for breakfast. There was no place for them to go. In fact, there's nothing open in the streets. The highway was open again, and we allowed them back in between 10:30 and 11 o'clock when any of the business would be started open.
One thing that I've been asked for is some kind of notification process to the businesses when we do close the exit off and Sixth Street businesses maybe aren't aware. If there's some way that I can be notified and disperse that, I don't know the best way to do that, but
I have.
businesses
no-
do that now.
Knowing how to do that, I participate, but I can't be responsible for it.
Oh,
I mean,
okay. Just throwing out the regular.
Usually I contact Rick to let him know what we have.
Okay.
Just to keep him apprised of everything going on. So.
That'll work.
Going to be one of my main plans.
If Rick knows, then you have a business promotions email
Yeah.
list and.
Right. Well, and that's
That's
what
it.
I would send out,
Sorry.
or if you just let me know, I can send out that email to businesses and let them know, because obviously they're not gonna be, if it's open, they don't want to stay open and use the manpower and all of that, if they're. If it's a lot to.
And that's just it.
Oh,
So Brandon,
It is,
it could be open and we could tell people it's going to be closed for the next 4 hours.
Mhm.
And it'll open again in a half.
30 minutes, right?
Or vice versa.
For sure.
I think the best resource in storms personally is Twitter. And I know that sounds so weird, but that's literally the only reason I have
You're absolutely
Twitter
right.
is because I'm seeing.
To the these
Twitter research.
social media.
You're not out.
Any.
Hashtag I-70,
But he's a huge.
hashtag close.
Elon Musk though.
No, but it's like
Great idea.
Twitter is one of the, it's like, it's CDOT updates Twitter faster than they even do CO.
Actually, that's the only thing we use.
Yeah, and so I mean, if you, during storms, like the first thing I do is I just pull out Twitter and I sit there on the feed and I watch it pop up and see what happens. And I mean, Thursday morning is a good example. It was all of our Denver people. And so we didn't open last Thursday because we're open Thursdays now.
Oh, I was gonna say, I thought you didn't start opening Thursdays until this week.
No, well, no, we were supposed to be last week, but none of our Denver people could get here because of Beaverbrook being closed.
So
And so we called it, we just didn't, we
Yeah.
pretended like we hadn't made that
the
decision.
multi-jurisdictional decisions on trying to operate this is the closures are going to start occurring much further east than they have been. So.
The one thing is, I know you and John are awesome about letting people off the highway. Like if you two are at the exit or wherever, if you're staged up at the Easter Seals, you're always good about letting employees through and about letting people through. The CDOT people who sometimes end up manning the closures are not as amiable.
I've had to battle to get into town myself to be able to come and perform services. And had to call the supervisor directly.
So yeah, there's just no way around that.
I'm going in. The other option was I'm going in. I had to try to. Sometimes.
So there's just, that's not workable. Like that's the one thing. I mean, and the county guys are always good. too.
The Twitter is very viable, especially if. Somebody already said she might be capable and probably has more computer skills and Twitter account already.
can do that.
Or can create a Georgetown Twitter account.
There is a Georgetown.
There is a Twitter account,
Who
it's
does
not
that?
super-
It hasn't been, no one's posted on it since
I
2016.
posted on.
I don't even know how to get
Well,
it.
we're gonna start using it then.
Well, we have to reinvent it because
Okay.
it's likely that the passwords, emails and phone numbers associated with said Twitter account are
There's also,
unbeknownst to.
Just so I know
me.
what to say when they call, how we say town business, does that include visitors and guests with like hotel reservations and?
Generally, anybody, short-term rentals,
Yeah,
I get something. I don't just take them at an immediate word, but I'm not going to take fingerprints and make them do this. And there's going to be people that lie and that shame on them.
so if they call, maybe we would say like, if they come across you, show like a reservation on their
Oh,
file,
absolutely.
and that would work.
Well, that's like,
Yeah.
That is-
Secret handshakes.
If they show me something on their phone, if they tell me a name I recognize or an address I recognize to go
Okay,
stay at their friend's house, they all get through. And there are those that are going to get away with being untruthful with me, and
yeah,
the best answer I have to that is shame on them. They're not going to be the line to show the problem.
yeah,
The line to show the problem is going to be the whole crowd.
okay,
And we still have no services, viable services in the county for shelter services. And especially in Georgetown, the closest we're going to come up with might be the community center.
Yeah.
We might have to revisit that at some time. We have a lot of equipment, but we don't have anywhere to put it. When we tried the community school to use the gymnasium, there's no parking, and most vehicles that try to go there can't get there. It's too dangerous to try to walk up the hill for people in winter conditions. So it's been dismissed as an option. Community center might be an option, but previously we haven't had success on them wanting to make that available. But that was a long time ago. There's whole new staff who have been opinions about that, now that are probably much more open to that. And for whatever reason, I mean, however many years ago, this is an occasion that happened 2 or 3 times a year. Now, last year wasn't bad. Last year wasn't bad. We closed the highway 3 times, I believe, and closed off, to the point of having to turn people around in town. And it was timely. It was well on into the evening. We're not out there closing the town off at 7, 8 o'clock at night because traffic just isn't warranted. But at 5 and 6 o'clock, all these people have seen weather reports for months or for days, all preceding it. And still decide, well, I'm going up, and then they'll just want to sit and wait in their cars. A big problem to remind everybody of why this became like this is the 2003 blizzard, where it closed off going westbound, so the town was allowed to just totally overfill. Within 3 or 4 hours, it closed off traveling eastbound, so nobody was able to leave town for 3 days. All the businesses loved all the people in their business up until 8 or 9 at night that night, first night. Until they wanted to go home, and then they kicked them all out. So you had citizens taking strangers into their homes, being mistreated for it. We had deceased persons located around town after the snow did clear that froze to death in their car. Froze to death outside of their home, stuff like that. So. And there was no food, water, fuel, or anything else left in town towards the end of that. So we really are not equipped to support any extended, let's stay in Georgetown until this happens. Again, in response to your question, anybody that has any viable, marginally viable reason is allowed in, if they can get to us. If they get to a point that it's going to be a long closure and it happens at Beaverbrook. And they're turned around there. Hopefully whoever's working down there, which is going to usually be CDOT or State Patrol, possibly even Jefferson County. Some of the closures are going to happen as far away as C-470.
OCSP Twitter is really good too. That's another good one. OCSP one. Well, thank you. And we, you know, I keep a spreadsheet.
All I have is my MySpace account.
The Georgetown Twitter account is not used by anything that I can see town. We will now have a new Twitter account at Georgetown, Colorado.
I actually keep a spreadsheet of the closures because I have problems. And sometimes they're short, sometimes they're long, but I have all the closure dates from last year.
Is the very random.
They are super random. I have all the closure dates and I have I'm completely psychotic. I have issues.
All this spare time because the road is closed, that's when you start.
I put it onto a spreadsheet we keep at the restaurant and I write highway closed X amount of hours, this and this, and I put little notes to myself.
Oh my goodness.
I write, yeah.
Like good, bad, police are wonderful, police suck. All the above.
Yeah, all of them. It's awesome. Well,
And
thank
it's
you.
still random, I'm sure.
I have to quit now, so we have to wrap this up.
Thank you,
Randy. Appreciate your time.
Give me your cups when she's trying to quit.
So you guys know I've been the chair for the last couple of years and it's been great. I will not quit the commission. I will stay on the commission, but I think it is time for me to move on from this role. Because I'm really busy and I need oxygen. I was asked to be the president or of the school board. So I'm the president of the Georgetown Community School Board, which is a great, it's an awesome, but we also have a very, very complicated bond that's taking up a lot of time for me. So with that being said, I marinated on it for quite some time and I asked Kevin Kaharik if he would take over my seat. So I officially nominate Kevin Kaharik to be the next chair of business promotions when I term out.
I'm sorry.
Do you accept?
I will accept the role.
Thank you. Yay. Okay. So I will finish my term and then I will stay on the commission. And I just really want to miss one meeting, guys. Okay. Just let me miss one. I missed a meeting in 3.5 years. So 4 years. So yeah, but I will still serve and I'm very, very happy. And then I will, when Kevin takes over, he can re-up all of the rest of the offices in February. So I will, December and January, January is my last meeting, right? As chair. I got bamboozled and I took over in January. Steve totally bamboozled me.
Town code says February, we appoint the new, and it kind of rolls, there's no real substance to our.
I certainly will I'll do December for sure, and then we'll take it from there. But I am very grateful and I think you will be great. And I will still be here to support us any way we can. I just need to miss one meeting and then I'll be okay. Thank you guys for the opportunity to serve the commission. It's been fun.
You've been great.
Absolutely. It is 10 minutes. We're gonna skip those today.
He's over.
I quit. Did you hear? Can we do minutes, please? Craig, you should probably recuse.
I'm not actually younger yet. I don't think the board wants to then.
No, you're on. That's fine. Just do things the way we want.
Well, he wasn't here, so we can.
Yeah. Can I have a motion? Can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make that motion.
And a second.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
The minutes are approved. 10:11 a.m. I make a motion to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.